that you can have is this truth, you know?
Right. And you 2/3 today, you know, Jake is known for always trying to be fucking fashionably late. Well, you gonna fuck up this time. Go ahead, brother Rod.
Yeah, that's a perfect video lesson right there. But did you?
Hey, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem HaRachakodash, and double honors to our apostles and elders here at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the Lord's hopefully elect. So, you know, the brother Tazwam, he said that at camp the other day, and I really do like what he said, because it is true. You know, the Lord knows his people Jacob, and if it's one thing Jacob is known for trying to do is to be slick. So much so that they think they can slick a can of oil, meaning they think they could pull a fast one on Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. One thing that's well known amongst the Christian church is our people will ignore the Lord their whole life, live a whole life of sin and adultery or lasciviousness, whatever it is they want to do, because in the back of their minds they're saying, well, when I get old, then that's when I'm going to turn my life to the Lord. Let me have my fun. Let me do whatever it is that I want. And I'll worry about being, quote unquote, saved when I'm good and done with everything. So people will wait until they are old and brittle. And once they see that they have nothing else to look forward to but death, then that's, oh, let me go and dedicate my life to a church. Let me go join the church, thinking that that's going to work. And you're thinking the same thing when it comes to this truth. You hear the Israelites, you hear us what we say. We talk about World War III, we talk about martial law. And a lot of you are just putting it on the back end and you're saying, I'll worry about that later. I got many things to be concerned about first. I don't want to have to get myself together yet because I still got things I want to do. And a lot of you you're looking at the forecast and you believe that it's going to be sunny and cloudy, right? But what the forecast doesn't show you is that bad weather is coming, but you don't see it because the people that are telling you, the divine weathermen, which are the prophets, to you, that forecast doesn't seem too nice. It's not pleasant. So you want to believe that, no, everything's just going to be fine and everything's going to continue how it is, because and deep down, when, you know, the Lord knows that you're just waiting. You're waiting to see if you run out of options. And then when you run out of options, then then I'll turn to the Lord. That's not going to work. Okay? If it's one stunt that will not work on, it's going to come to the Lord, and especially when it comes to hearing this truth, which is what, you know, the brother was talking about at camp. The scoffers and the naysayers sitting on the sidelines, calling the Israelites, saying that we're mad, we're racist, we don't know what we're talking about. And you're just talking all that mess because you can still go down to the grocery store, because you can still book tickets to your concert, because you can still clock in at work. When all those things start to come in doubt and in jeopardy, then that's when you're going to realize them Israelites were telling the truth. And now let me try to get my act together. Now let me see about listening in, but it's not going to work. So the definition of fashionably late says deliberately arriving after an event has started, especially in order to prove one's social status. So you know what time it begins. You just want to be late. And we're telling you through the power of the Lord that the day of evil is coming. You hear it. You just choose, no, I'm not going to listen because I'm still busy. I got things to be worried about. And when I believe that I can see the Lord coming through my binoculars, then that's when I'm going to try to get my act together. And it's not just 2/3. It's Israelites too that think that. That's why you have Israelites saying we got another 20, 30 years. That's why you have Israelites saying book the next debate. Let's get the next debate going. On this day, we're going to debate about that. The next day, we're going to debate about that. These Israelite groups say, like IUIC, you already know they got the next 5 years planned. They already got Passover for 2030 planned. They already got it figured out who's going to perform that day, who's going to be the fashion show for that day. This is how they're thinking, because they believe before the Lord gets back, clearly I'll be able to see when that happens. I can pretty much see it. And then when I see it, that's when I'm going to make the change. That's when I'm going to try to sneak on in, try to be slick. But it's not going to work for both the believers and the non-believers. As Matthew 22, verse 9, go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. So this guy thought he could just sneak on in and not come prepared. Just like the 5 were wise, the 5 were foolish. 5 were prepared, the other 5 weren't. The other 5 were lollygagging, not using their time wisely. And they said that they thought in their heart they had time. And they thought that at the very least that they would be able to get themselves prepared when they feel right, until the time came and it came upon them, as a thief. Just like this guy thought he could just sneak or be slick to try to come into the wedding and not be prepared. The garments represent your spiritual attire. Like he says in Revelation 19, the righteousness of the saints is the white fine linen. Like the garments as well as the fringes is knowing who you are, prepared spiritually. So you think you're just going to sneak or be slick to try to ease on in at the last minute, right? Knowing it's a wedding, knowing you must be prepared, knowing you got to prepare yourself with proper attire. You got no respect for it. So you just, in the last, you're going to just try to sneak on in there talking about some shalom. It's not going to work. Right? Verse 12. And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither and not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Exactly. Book of Sirach 5, verse 7. Let's start at 6. And say not, his mercy is great, he will be pacified for the multitude of my sins, which is the Christian church. Let's just read 5. It says, concerning propitiation, which is another word for like sacrifice, be not without fear to add sin unto sin. And say not, his mercy is great, he will be pacified for the multitude of my sins, which is what you hear in the Christian church. The Lord will forgive me no matter what it is. I can be forgiven no matter how many times I do it. He gonna forgive me. Doing all this with no fear, which is why they use the Christian church as a mock, as a joke, to say you can always just go to Christianity because they teach that no matter what, in the end, you could just come on in and you gonna make it and you gonna be saved. They're not teaching the true fear of the Lord. They don't even teach the fear of the Lord. They say he's your friend. That's why they ain't afraid to go up there talking crazy. It says, for mercy and wrath come from him, and his indignation resteth upon sinners. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. So right when you think you're the most secure, right when you think you got your whole future mapped out, that's when the Lord's going to bring that judgment. And that's when the door can actually close. Right when you think things are looking up for you, that's when the Lord's going to shut the door and you're not going to have access. Just like I just watched this movie the other day. It's about an Amalekite, and he's running his little podcast or whatever, and he's just sitting behind talking madness, talking stuff to everybody that calls. And he's an Amalekite because, they got to make it known right off the bat. They got to play victim. I almost tuned off because of that, but it got a little interesting because it's about this guy that calls in, first time caller, who basically says that he knows that the world's about to end, and he can feel it whenever something's bad about to happen, it's gonna happen. And he basically telling them like, yeah, it's about to happen. And the guy didn't believe him, but as they were talking, he saw proof. He was turning it on the news and all that, and he was basically telling like, yeah, man, it's over. Like, it's not gonna stop. The world is ending. So it took him a while for the Amalekite to really let it settle in that it's over with. And one thing he just kept saying, like, I just want to go back. I just finally got where I needed to be. I finally got where I wanted to be. And he's having all these flashbacks of him getting to the point that he's at, and he's so comfortable, and he's taking it hard to see that the world is coming to an end. And all he could say was, I just want to go back. And that's how a lot of people is going to be when the Lord decides to go ahead and put an end to this. It's just like during the pandemic. What was everybody's thought process? That's all you heard was what? Let's just go back to normal. Let's just listen. First it was 2 weeks, turned into a whole year. And everybody was just saying, we just got to get through this so we can get back to normal. Everybody's just seeking to get back to that. And what were we saying? We were saying, what if it doesn't go back to normal? Have you thought about that? And that's something we all had to consider, because it just happened, right? Well, that's what's going to happen when the Lord really shuts things down. We all going to have to accept the fact that whatever the situation is, it's the norm. There is no going back. That alone is going to cause a lot of people to lose their minds. And Esau is going to use that as how do you say, a out, just like he said the pandemic. The faster everybody takes this jab is the faster we go back to normal. So a lot of people so desperate and eager to make things go back to normal will comply, just like they're going to do when they bring that chip. They know what they're doing. It's all prophesied. Luke 12. Verse 16. The Lord gave these parables for a reason, right? And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But Yahweh said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Yahweh. Because when it comes, it's going to come at a time where no one is expecting. That is why we're using our time wisely, because we believe in what's written. So we're trying to store up our treasures. All of you scoffers, you think you got time. You think that you can always just join in or come to the Lord at any time. But you don't realize part of his prophecy as well is that this truth won't be accessible. You won't always have your brother or your father or your husband or, whoever it is you may know. You won't always have, you think you're going to always have access. Well, I always know that if all else fails, I just call my brother because he's in that. I ain't listen to it right now, but if I see when things get real nasty, I know I can always call him. Or I know that I can always call the father of my children. I know that he always take me back. I know that I can always call my dad. My dad's in the truth, and I know that you don't know that. You don't know if you're going to always have access, but that's what you're thinking. Just like you thinking, well, I can always get my act together last minute. I'll put down the pork, or after I have my trips, I got some trips planned. After all that, then when I'm good and ready, then that's when I'm going to sneak on in and try to sneak on into the wedding. And the Lord going to receive me. No, it's because you got that sentiment from the Christian church. That ain't how the Lord operates. When he closes the door, it's closed. Luke 21, 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come upon all them that dwell on the face of the earth. That's how it's coming. Just like that Amalekite said in the movie, I just want to go back. Because once people actually see that the end is there, then they start to reflect on the things that they could have done during that time. And that's what you people are going to feel. The regret of knowing that you didn't use the time wisely, and that you partied, and that you put it off, and that you waited and you delayed. Because what's going to happen when you, just like he did the rich man, right when you think you're most comfortable, that's when the Lord brings the judgment. You're going to be stuck like Chuck. Let's get that. Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh. That's the famine. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, and they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord Yahweh, and shall not find it. Because when evil times come like it is now, the relief people will try to find is spiritual. And they're going to always know in the back of their minds, those Israelites got the truth. Let's go see them. And that's when the Lord's going to close the door. Just like he did during the time of Noah. He's the one that closed the door. He shut it because those people mocked Noah. But once they saw the rain come, then let's go to Noah. He's our brother. Surely he's going to open the door. The Lord's the one that closed it. So just like when it comes to accessing this truth, you think you're going to always access the truth. But when you're going to try to access it, but then the Lord's going to close the door and they're going to be locked. Brock. 2 Ezra 5. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. So the Lord is going to want to hide the truth. Right? You jump down. Verse 8. There shall be confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and minstrous women shall bring forth monsters. You know, that strikes fear into people when there's a lot of confusion or a lot of things that's happening that can't be explained. Animals changing their places, being found in places they're normally not, doing things that they normally don't do, having all of these once in a lifetime eclipses. In 1 year you can have 2 or 3 eclipses, and they'll say this is the first time in 70 years, this is the first time the earth, its moon is full, and all these things happening back to back. That strikes fear in people because they can't explain it. You know, people like certainty. People like to be comfortable. They like certainty. They want the certainty that the job isn't going anywhere, that the economy is going to keep going as it's going, things are fine. You know, people don't like uncertainty. And according to the prophecy, the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. Verse 9, it says, and salt water shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit, and that's another thing, love of many waxing cold, friends betraying one another. When people see stuff like that, they know it's over with. Because the love of many, and it said minstrous women shall bring forth monsters. You've never heard a time more than now where you heard children offing their own parents. And you also hear about parents offing their own children, doing things to their spouses. You never heard that more than now. Because the generation, as the scripture says, the creatures are waxing weak, and more evils are growing, and the generations are more evil than ever. So when people really see that, then they know that the land is barren of faith. There is no going back. Then that's when you're going to try to find the Israelites, but the Lord's going to hide it. As he goes on, he says, And salt water shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit or wisdom hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinency be multiplied upon the earth. So just going back to just like what the brother said, you think you're going to always be able to just be slick and sneak on in and just win favor of the Lord. But how you going to slick a can of oil? The Lord sees everything. He knows your thoughts, and it's not going to work. So you're not using the time wisely to get your act together because you think there's time. That's the only reason why you're scoffing and you're laughing, because you really do think you got time. Like Anton Daniels, he speaks very proudly and boasts against the Israelites because he's married to the dollar, and he believes that the dollar isn't going anywhere. He believes that America is just going to keep thriving. You know, what's going to happen when that dollar collapses and the only form of access to it is going to be via microchip. And they say you can access all your money, but you're going to have to take this chip. All this, everything you work so hard for is going to be locked behind a digital paywall, and there's only going to be one access to it, that chip. And you're going to be hurt like Bert. Verse 10. Or verse 11. One land also shall ask another and say, is righteousness that make a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, no. So people are going to be looking, who has the truth? Who has the knowledge of the Lord? Who knows what righteousness is? Verse 12, and at the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. That's what you call the end of the world. And if you don't get on the lifeboat now and take heed and change your ways, because when this day happens, it's going to just sneak up on us, all of us. The difference is we're watching. But all these guys who think it's a joke, all the Israelites who think they got time planning this debate, the next debate, oh man, when they bring these lockdowns again and they really make it certain like this is it. When it's evident that this isn't just some wave, people wanted to believe the pandemic, oh, it's just a wave, it was just a time. No, it was all planned. Now they got more info. They're about to do it again via prophecy. And when it happens and people see there is no going back, that's when you're going to try to get your act together. And for a lot of you, it's going to be simply too late. Shalom.